Warning: this fanfiction contains blood, gore, murder, and cannibalism. Materials in this fanfiction may be disturbing to younger audience. Viewer discretion advised.
"Well, I'm going for a walk," said Pinkie Pie, heading for the door. She turned back around. "Don't go anywhere." "Why you're leaving me here?" asked Rainbow Dash, shocked. "I'll only be gone for a minute or so, silly," said Pinkie Pie, giggling. "Don't worry." Pinkie left the room, leaving Rainbow Dash alone. Dash let out a sigh. Her forelegs and hind legs were starting to fall asleep. Pinkie Pie walked into Sugarcube Corner. "Hey, Pinkie," said the pony behind the cashier counter. "Hey, Mrs. Cake," said Pinkie Pie. Just then Rarity burst through the front door. "Pinkie Pie," said Rarity. "Oh, hey Rarity," said Pinkie Pie. "Where's Rainbow Dash?" asked Rarity. "Rainbow Dash?" asked Pinkie. "Yes, Rainbow Dash. You two were doing something together around 3, correct?" "Oh, yeah," said Pinkie cheerfully. "It was fun." "Why yes. Well, I haven't seen Dash since," said Rarity. "You know where she is. Why are you in such a hurry to find her?" asked Pinkie. "Is the world ending, or something? I need her for something important." "Well, if it's that important, then sure," said Pinkie Pie. "I'll show you where she went." "Really?" asked Rarity, relieved. "That'll be marvelous." "Oh, I'm sure," said Pinkie Pie. "Follow me." Rainbow Dash was doing everything she could to stay awake, but there was this awful stench coming from somewhere in the room. Then she noticed a pile of bones in the far corner. Next to the pile was a table. Dash almost vomited when she saw what was on it: 3 decapitated pony heads. Dash's eyes widened. Pinkie wasn't fooling around. This mare was truly insane. Not only had she captured Rainbow Dash, but she has also murdered others before. Dash began to sweat, almost hyperventilating. The pony heads seemed to be staring straight at her, causing her to almost vomit. She closed her eyes tightly and whimpered, knowing that that was probably her fate as well. Pinkie Pie was leading Rarity to the hideout where Rainbow Dash was being held captive. "How much further?" asked Rarity. "We've been walking forever. And my hooves are getting all dirty." "Relax, Rarity," said Pinkie Pie. "We're here." Rarity looked around. "We're in the Everfree Forest," she said. "There's nothing around for miles." "Strange," said Pinkie Pie. "I could have swore I saw her come here. Why on earth would Rainbow Dash come here?" "How should I know?" asked Pinkie. "I'm not Rainbow Dash." "Well, I guess we'd better start looking for her." "Yeah," said Pinkie in a much less calm tone. "You do that." The pink mare pulled a small metal bar from her mane. "Where should we street?" began Rarity. Just then something hit her in the back of the head and she passed out. "Sweet dreams, Rarity," said Pinkie Pie, grabbing the unicorn by her hooves. She then began dragging the mare back to Sugarcube Corner, using the cover of night to stay out of sight. Rarity awoke in darkness. She slowly got her feet. "Where am I?" she asked herself. She tried using her magic to create light but nothing happened. She tried again. "What's going on?" she asked herself, reaching up to feel the top of her head. She winced in pain as she touched the stub of a horn that remained on her head. She brought her hoof down and saw blood. She opened her mouth to scream but nothing came out. "Where am I?" she screamed. "Right where I want you." She looked up as light shone down through the hole. "Pinkie Pie," she asked, "what's going on?" "You're in a pit, silly." "A pit?" she asked. "Why? You wanted to be where Rainbow Dash is." "Rainbow Dash is here." "Of course," said Pinkie Pie. "But why the pit?" "So you can't escape, obviously," said Pinkie Pie. "Where's my horn?" "You mean this?" asked Pinkie, pushing something over the edge of the pit. The object fell in front of Rarity. It was her horn. Rarity looked back up at Pinkie Pie. "What are you going to do?" "Do?" asked Pinkie. "What do you mean?" "Well, I'm not here for nothing, right?" Pinkie Pie said nothing for a couple seconds or so. Then she spoke. "Oh, Rarity. I can't fool you," Pinkie Pie said with a smile. I'm thinking I'm gonna make you a dress. Make me a dress? Asked Rarity as Pinkie Pie started to leave. That doesn't seem too bad. Did I say, make you a dress? Asked Pinkie Pie, stopping and looking back down. I meant, make you into a dress. My bad, she said as she left. Rarity just stood there with her mouth open. Oh, Pinkie Pie, she said to herself. What's happened to you? Pinkie Pie entered the room where Rainbow Dash was being kept. Oh, no, Pinkie Pie said sarcastically. Some pony's fallen asleep. I'm not asleep, said Rainbow Dash. My whole body's just numb from hanging here. Numb? Asked Pinkie Pie. What fun is the upcoming events if you can't feel anything? Pinkie Pie approached the table with all the sharp objects and picked up a syringe. She trotted over to Rainbow Dash and dug the needle into Rainbow Dash's neck. What did you just put in me? Asked Rainbow Dash, regaining feeling in her body. Adrenaline booster, said Pinkie Pie, dropping the syringe. Upon hitting the floor, the syringe shattered. Now, said Pinkie Pie, we can begin. A minute later, Pinkie had put alligator clips on all 4 of Dash's legs. The clips were hooked up to a machine that sat next to Pinkie Pie. On the machine was a button and a dial. Pinkie, said Dash, please, don't do this. You don't even know what I'm gonna do, silly. I have a pretty good feeling what you're going to do. Said Pinkie Pie, thinking. Then, let's make a game out of this. I'll ask you 5 questions. For every right answer, nothing happens. For every wrong answer, zap. Answer 3 out of the 5 questions right, I'll stop. Got it? Dash gulped. Yes, good, said Pinkie Pie, turning the dial on the machine to 10 volts. Question 1. What's my favorite color? Pink, said Dash. Darn, how do you know? Asked Pinkie. Lucky guess. Fine. Question 2. What's the name of my pet and what kind of animal is he? Gummy's a crocodile. Pinkie Pie smiled. Wrong. She pushed the button on the machine, sending 10 volts through Dash's body. She yelled in pain. Then Pinkie Pie released the button and the pain stopped. Pinkie Pie turned the dial to 20 volts. Question 3. What's my favorite food? Cupcakes, asked Dash. Trick question. I like everything, Pinkie Pie yelled, pressing the button. 20 volts of electricity coursed through Dash's body. She yelled even louder than before. Pinkie Pie set the dial to 30 volts. Question 4. What's my full name? Pinkamena Diane Pie, said Dash. Very good, said Pinkie Pie, again unhappily. 1 more to go. Question 5. Did you ever find me annoying to the point of wanting to avoid me? Dash asked weakly. Answer the question, said Pinkie Pie, moving her front hoof over the button. No, said Dash. Of course not. Pinkie Pie's eyes narrowed. Wrong, she said deeply. She held the button down, zapping Dash. You've always found me annoying, Pinkie Pie yelled. Always. Just then the electricity stopped. Wait a minute, said Pinkie Pie, exceedingly more calm. There's someone who wants to see you. Pinkie Pie left the room. Asked Rainbow Dash weakly. Who or why? Rainbow Dash passed out. When Rainbow Dash regained consciousness, she saw Rarity. She was strapped to a wooden slab that resembled Rainbow Dash's. Rarity opened her eyes and looked at Rainbow Dash. Dash, she asked. Rarity, Dash asked. Yay, said Pinkie Pie, heading to a door at the back wall. We're all together. Well, almost. Pinkie opened the door and pulled out a yellow pony with a blue mane. Bubbles, asked Rainbow Dash. So, you know this pony, said Pinkie Pie. Then this will be even more fun than I thought. The pony was tied up and laying on the floor. Tears filled her eyes. Pinkie walked over to the surgical table and grabbed a scalpel. She then headed over to Bubbles. What are you going to do? Asked Rarity. You'll see, said Pinkie Pie, not taking her eyes off of Bubbles. But Bubbles won't. She drove the scalpel into the eye socket of Bubbles' left eye. She let out a high-pitched scream as Pinkie Pie plucked out her eye. It fell out and rolled on the floor. Pinkie Pie then cut Bubbles' ropes. Bubbles backed against the wall, screaming in pain and holding her empty eye socket. No, Rainbow Dash screamed. Bubbles, she said more softly. Rarity started to cry. Pinkie Pie stabbed the loose eye with the scalpel. She then held it up to her mouth and licked it. She said. It's perfect. She set the eye back on the floor and pulled the scalpel free. But I need one more. She moved towards Bubbles and held up the scalpel. Bubbles held up her hooves to try and block Pinkie. Come on, said Pinkie Pie. No, screamed Bubbles. Give me your eye. No. Pinkie Pie slit Bubbles' legs, causing her to pull back. Pinkie Pie then drove the scalpel into Bubbles' other eye socket. Ah, screamed Bubbles. No. Rainbow Dash cried softly. Bubbles. Pinkie Pie plucked out Bubbles' other eye. It fell to the ground and rolled a bit. Bubbles was now crying uncontrollably. Well, that was fun, said Pinkie Pie. But you know what? I'm gonna give you a chance. If you can make it out the door in 60 seconds, you can live. Now, go. Bubbles slowly moved forward, feeling around in front of her. She turned a bit to the left and headed towards Rainbow Dash. Dash? Asked Bubbles. Over here, said Rainbow Dash. Bubbles felt her way to Rainbow Dash. When she felt Dash's legs, she looked up. Rainbow Dash found it hard to look at Bubbles in this condition. Oh, Bubbles, said Dash. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. Blood trickled out of Bubbles' eye sockets. It looked like red tears. Be strong, said Dash. Who you kidding? Bubbles asked. We both know I'm not going to make it. You're the one that needs to be strong. Rainbow Dash's eyes were completely filled with tears. Time's up, said Pinkie, standing behind Bubbles. She held up the scalpel to Bubbles' neck. Don't forget me, said Bubbles, still looking up at Rainbow Dash. Never, said Dash. Pinkie slit Bubbles' throat, spilling her blood all over the floor. Bubbles kept looking up at Rainbow Dash until she was dead. Rainbow Dash looked away and cried. Rarity started to cry, too. Now to harvest, said Pinkie.